Hi guys, I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes explaining the trauma recovery focused framework that I teach, I train in, I write books about, and lots of organizations are choosing to immerse their staff, their colleagues in an understanding of this framework because I believe it's life-changing. I believe it really does bring hope to the possibility of recovery. So just a couple of minutes on what it looks like. The first one is recovery is possible. You could ask what recovery looks like, and I'll do another film on that another day, but recovery is possible. We don't need to diagnose and medicate people for the rest of their life because awful things have happened to them. We actually know how to do trauma recovery work to facilitate recovery in children, young people and adults so that they can live a life without being tripped over by past experience. Recovery is possible. Two, it's really important to amplify the voice of the child. What do we mean by that? We mean there's so many adults around that often disempower children and young people that they are left trapped in all sorts of situations where they are powerless. Well, when we understand that trauma, the definition of trauma is terror, powerlessness, and overwhelm, obviously we want to empower children. So we want to listen to their voice. We want to amplify their voice. What has this experience been like? What can we learn from you about how to do this better? But we also need to always remember child development theories. At what age can they make a decision? And what age do we need to protect them? I certainly know that my kids would have all chosen to eat sweets every meal when they were under 5. And so I had to overrule that, whilst at the same time not helping them not feel powerless, but actually empowered to make some good decisions. What therapy medium is the best? Well, ultimately, absolutely, it's about relationship. When someone's been traumatized in relationship due to what's happened, which is adverse to them, or what hasn't happened, what they needed, their needs weren't met, they heal in the context of positive, repetitive, kind, nurturing relationships. But we also know that actually the Broca's area of the brain doesn't work very well when someone's traumatized because the brain is overwhelmed with the need to survive. And so we know that creative therapy is a key. We know that actually multi-agency work needs to be something where we focus and are intentional about being kind, curious and respectful of each other, because any kind of nasty conflict or that kind of vibe is picked up by the traumatized people we're supporting. So we need to be intentional about that. Psychoeducation, what a thing. When people understand the complexity of being a human, it's like light bulb moments. I love nothing more than when people suddenly realize, oh, I behave like that because of that. You see the hope in their eye. Psychoeducation is powerful. Everything starts at the point of assessment. You'll hear me say that a million times if you ever come and do my training. Why? Because my goodness, the word trauma does not give us enough information about how to be recovery focused. If we're going to a doctor with all sorts of aches and pains, we need an assessment so that we actually understand a little bit more of what's going on. Not an invasive, not a nasty question, interrogation, but a curiosity that enables us to know, is this type 1, 2, or 3 trauma? The interventions, don't like that word, but the things we do to help are completely different according to what trauma they're kind of roughly at. And it's a moving continuum that's really helpful for discussions. Relationships are central, both in when we're supporting people, but also with each other as team and staff, trusting each other, being respectful of each other's different training. The environment is so important. The environment, if a child feels like, oh, where am I here? Then they're not going to be able to feel embodied safety. Safety is so much about our senses. It's so much about the environment and what we can quickly scan when we're hypervigilant. And so embodied safety in our physical environments is an absolute key. I am passionate as well about upskilling the family, upskilling parents and carers. And that's why I wrote some of my books, that parents and carers would be able to have access to psychoeducation so they feel empowered. And so we can actually see an end, we can see a complete change to generational trauma cycles. And finally, we always want to make sure we're intentionally reducing terror, powerlessness, and overwhelm. What can we do with our teams? What can we do with our family? What can we do with those we're supporting? We need to be intentional about it, because those are the definitions of trauma. I hope that's helpful. It's a quick overview as to the model I train in, and obviously it's way more complicated than that, and it's 4 stages: stage 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that's just the beginning. But that helps people actually have an understanding of the complexity, but the depth and the beauty of trauma recovery work. Hope that's helpful. Bye.